Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and family beyond the binary, hello and welcome to NECC Overwatch. My name is Warren Jungle God Hammond, and tonight joined on the mic by Soav. How are you doing today?
It's always good to be back here. It's another beautiful Thursday night for Overwatch, and we're gonna close out this with a fun one. I know we've got Southwest Oklahoma State University and Western Colorado University coming in. Southwest coming in off a loss, and Western Colorado coming in off a win. So a tale of two teams in a way. One looking for their win and to keep themselves on a good start to the season, and the other one just looking to extend some good work they've already put in. So with knowledge that both of these teams are looking pretty happy with the meta, I can't imagine this is going to be anything less than a good match.
I think you're absolutely right. Both of these teams really enjoy the dive style compositions. But each of them plays it a little bit differently, right? We have on one side Western Colorado University, which really likes to play it slow, right? They play patient, right? They're going to wait for their opponents to make a mistake, pounce, and delete whoever they can. Whereas on the other side, Southwest Oklahoma, they're actually, what I would say is they're a lot more flexible, right? They're a lot more adaptable in their play style. So I'm going to be looking to them to see, like, okay, how do they respond after the first couple of fights, right? To see, like, if they make adjustments or if they feel like what they're doing is going to work.
Yeah, and especially given that one is, like, both of these teams are very flexible and kind of could probably be playing a bit more passively. I really do expect to see the quality from both of these teams and all these players come out across both teams, because no one can really afford to make a mistake if you know it's going to be capitalized on, or if you know that your matchup just isn't great. Those are both things that can be capitalized on very easy.
They can, absolutely. And one person that I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to have my eyes on a lot in this match to see, like, how consistent they can be, is going to be NECC, right? Because they're the Anna coming out here for Colorado, Western Colorado University, because they're going to have a couple of great targets, I think. This is a team that really likes to use the Winston Reaper dive. So both of those are fantastic nano targets. In addition, you know, if you've got a strong Anna on your team, you know they're going to be hitting these biotic grenades as well. So that says to me that a big part of Southwest Oklahoma's plan might need to be having a Kiriko in the mix so that you've got that SWOSU.
Why don't we check out who is going to be coming in from Southwest Oklahoma, who they're bringing in. They've got Kiro, Virus, Orbital, Sundara, and Max Witherman. So, like you said, we do expect to see them play a little bit more differently. This is the more flexible squad, and this squad also is two teams deep. So there's a lot of flexibility, not just with the roster itself, but probably within these players. This may be just kind of the players who are more used to or suited to the comp. I don't really know. I do kind of actually expect Southwest Oklahoma to really come in and maybe dig into that bench if they need to.
And, you know, they don't even necessarily need to dig too far into the bench either, because one of their standout players is Virus, that sophomore, who is one of their biggest flex players. They're going to start out most likely on their hit scan, right? That's kind of their preferred role, where at least the team likes to have them, but they can absolutely swap to tanks. So if they see an opportunity where maybe a little bit better matchup could be utilized using the hero pool of Virus, they might see time in place of Orbital. But you're absolutely right. I mean, this roster is so deep for Southwest Oklahoma.
Yeah, let's check out what's going on with Western Colorado there, because we already talked about one of these players, but we've got Nononana, Luskus, Megusaka, Ultra Kook, and Zaru. And Megusaka was the one we were highlighting earlier. And this is going to be something, like you said, I'm going to be keeping an eye on. With Megu playing an Ana and that being the preferred hero, that is a very diveable target. That is a very, very easy first pick for some of these dive heroes. So really, the way they protect Megusaka and continue to get value will be so important for this WCU Crimson team. I really do expect that the teamwork will be there for them if they want to survive this coming onslaught.
As do I, because again, I think that that kind of highlights the way that they like to play, right? They're very patient. They're going to wait for those mistakes to make. So that's going to mean that they're going to be very aware if Megusaka gets dove, right? They're going to be able to respond, peel in order to help them out and make sure that they're going to be safe. Another thing that I think is really cool to note is two of these standout players, right, from each side. Got Megusaka is a freshman, right? So Western Colorado University, they look to have a lot of time with this player, as does Southwest Oklahoma and Virus, right? Just a sophomore over there. So love to see these younger players coming in and making a big impact on these squads.
And not to mention the younger players, but I also expect to see these older players kind of come in and help lead and guide that. These seniors and juniors that are starting to work their way out of the systems can really kind of lead the team to advantage to really say, like, look, this is the style we've established and we played in the past. We see how you do. We want to work you into the system, and that's the kind of important thing that you need. But all those things considered, we are starting off on map 1 here, and it's everybody's favorite. We love to joke about it, but it's Lijiang Tower. I don't know that I need to say a lot about it. It's 3 maps we've all seen so much of that are, I mean, you have your strategies for them, and you kind of know what you're going to do. But given that we're playing a lot of dive, I do expect that each of these teams is going to have their preferred method to it. And here, in Control, interesting to see what they are going to do, because this is typically the home of brawl comps, of Junkrats, of really getting in faces. So should either of these teams really do opt into the dive comp, this is going to be a little bit harder. There's no real high grounds to maintain. There's no real sight lines that aren't flat or just blocked by walls. So I do think that this is an interesting meter to see what both of these teams do in regards to their kind of more brawl-ish comps. And given that Southwest Oklahoma is opening with Orbital on the Ramatra, I do think they are looking a little bit more aware of that in some regards. They do say they like to play this Ramatra with fast and try to engage quickly, and I do think that this is a good comp to do it. On the other side with WCU Crimson, similar idea, but just different. They're just going to play the Winston. They do have Megasaka on the Ana. There's a little bit more burst healing out of that, and I do think that that may come to make a difference between the Ana and the Kiriko. Ana and Kiriko. Really just keeping an eye on both of those supports. Who kind of gets the more value in support will make a difference.
Southwest Oklahoma as well, just doubling down into this brawl. Virus going over to the Mei as well. That could cause a lot of problems, right? And it could also kind of help to protect this backline, which is being dove right now by Nona. Going down pretty low, though, so they're going to be forced to back out. Max Witherman trying to layer in some damage from above. Virus going to be able to get the first pick onto Zaire Overwatch. So a lot of that burst damage that's coming out of Western Colorado University Crimson not going to be there anymore. We see them back off as a result.
Yeah, there's just really not much they can do, and the Reaper will get punished out too. It is a very bursty comp, but I also do think that just given how safe this team from Southwest Oklahoma can play together, there's just a lot in their favor. That said, Megasaka is already more than halfway to a nano, so they'll have a little more time to build the rest of that going into this. I do see that probably going in the Winston to build a little bit more of the primal. Meanwhile, I mean, they're just going to struggle. They're just going to kind of probably have to commit this early to get in even.
That's a good point. Either that or just opt for a different route, right? It's a little bit tough going through that choke. Already get sectioned off because of the Mei wall, but a nice bubble going to allow Nona to stay up. The nano has been delivered to them, but they're taking a tremendous amount of damage. Kitsune Rush coming out from Southwest Oklahoma, really the difference maker here, even allowing Max Witherman to burst through all of that health that Winston has.
Now that one kind of trick for WCU Crimson is out of the bag, Southwest Oklahoma just has far more in their favor. The other 4 ultimates are online, and that's just kind of the way this economy goes sometimes. You just have putting out more damage, you just have more answers. So the problem for Southwest Oklahoma is just not to overcommit these. They have a great hold here, they just need to keep it up.
Zaire likely going to have to be a big part of the solution here for WCU Crimson. Already starting off with a big pick. Zendara doesn't quite have that sound barrier online. Would have been useful if they'd been able to stay in this fight. Now, Southwest Oklahoma being forced to drop back to point. Dragon Strike going to cause a lot of problems on the high ground, and now WCU Crimson kind of has everybody where they want on Southwest University. They're going to be able to get a pick in. Actually going to be traded. Death Blossom out from Ultra. Going to be enough to pretty much clean up the rest of this. But still, 99% just about going to be on the board here for Southwest Oklahoma.
And given that they are just literally 1 fight away, plus 2 ultimates still on board, they'll have Annihilation plus Sound Barrier. I mean, that's enough to keep Orbital in range to just kind of clear the point. This is exactly what we were expecting for Ramatra to do, just kind of get control of the point and make it difficult to stay there. It will be tough for WCU Crimson to hold this, and now they're even swapping into Zaire on the Tracer. Just try to build a little more pressure here and keep those fast characters going a little bit sooner, because they know they have a tough fight ahead.
They absolutely do, and a big part of it is really going to hinge on Loose Goose, right? This Sound Soundbarrier absolutely has to be there. In addition, they're going to be having to use the speed to keep their team away from the Annihilation, which has just come out from Orbital. So, a lot of damage coming in, but in the meantime, WCU Crimson actually coming away with a pick right here. Annihilation is gone as well, so the advantage now, honestly, in WCU's favor, especially considering a lot of damage, a lot of work being done with this Primal. Now the Kitsune rush on the back of that. Good thing, too, because Sandara has a counter pick for Southwest University, but with the tank Orbital going down, that's just going to leave everybody else a lot more free to get this damage in. So, Crimson will hold.
For now, they're going to recommit here, Juggle. They still aren't done, but want to win it now.
They absolutely are not. Cairo recognizing an opportunity to use the Kitsune rush. It's allowing Max to just put in a tremendous amount, a ton of damage. In fact, it's going to be a little too much for everyone on Crimson to handle. Blizzard coming in should seal the deal.
Yeah, that's going to be all she wrote. No one there to touch. A lot of great zoning ultimates from Southwest Oklahoma here. Between the Blizzard, between the Annihilation, and the Kitsune Rush, just so many of these ultimates can buy space. This is a very space-controlling team, so you can't afford to get caught into smaller areas like that upper room. And they're very aware of just being able to kind of commit and layer these ults a little bit better, so a well-deserved win from Southwest Oklahoma. Now, the question is, are they going to change anything? Do they feel like they need to? And the answer is probably not. WCU Crimson probably also going to stay similarly. Megusaka is looking the Moira for now, and I don't know that I'm sold onto it. You know, I was promised Ana in a way. I kind of want to see the Ana. I know it's kind of being countered, but I do think that if you're going to play that, this Moira needs to get a little bit more value. It's kind of just a raw damage comp out of WCU Crimson in a lot of ways. It does move fast, and it is more of a traditional dive, but you still do have very tough to dive targets on Southwest Oklahoma, so this is a tough opener for the Crimson squad.
Made even tougher because Virus has opted to stay onto the Symmetra too.
Yeah. Wow, and they have positional control. This is going to be a tough opener to break for Western Colorado.
It really, really is. They're likely just going to have to give over point possession, right? Because the moment they step onto that point, they're going to be taking so much damage from so many different directions, and being slowed down by those turrets, all sorts of things. It's just going to make it really tough. But Nona does get a toe onto point, so they are contesting, but only for a moment. Just unable to stay, keep their foot on the point. But in the meantime, going to have a couple of picks either way. Now, it might come down to these Reapers on point, but at the moment, Ultra going down very low, forcing Wraith out will be Southwestern, and now Virus with that supercharged beam from Symmetra working overtime to give them their second fight win.
We were talking about the flexibility of Virus and about how that would probably come into play here, and that's kind of it, and a lot of it was just recognizing that, look, they haven't shown us a Symmetra, they haven't shown us anything, let's just stay on this and hold this point control. So they were rewarded for just basically controlling this point and, you know, playing the first picks. They also are rewarded because now they're ahead in the economy, they have a little bit more to play with. Megusaka does have one ultimate on board, but it's kind of not going to do much on its own.
They're going to have to use it quick, though, I think, as well, because already there's a lot of damage being done by Crimson. Here it is, going to be utilized almost immediately, and that's good. Right before they're able to really get anything else online. Wall comes out, but it's not going to be enough, so Crimson will take first possession of this point.
All right, a good play. All right, I let it be said that I can be wrong. They did manage to get through it with just that, so... That being said, Crimson, you know, they'll start to build percentage. They do have a couple ultimates online. They'll have Primal, they'll have Sound Barrier, and they'll have Dragon Strike. Just finding the right place to put it and probably covering the point should keep Crimson in charge of this point. There is a Sound Barrier and an Annihilation on the opposite side, so they have a little bit to wear through. But a well-placed and a well-placed Dragon Strike should do the damage here.
Especially considering that Southwest University is staying very grouped up on this composition, right? So they can find a way to corral them all into a specific place. Could be pretty devastating. But Max Witherman going to strike first with the Death Blossom on point. Clearly, Crimson wasn't aware of the flank, wasn't expecting it. There were 4 players in White Room. Means 1 left to do some damage. Primal coming out from Nona, which I like because it's going to allow them to at least get a lot more percentage on the board here. But there's only so long this Winston is going to last.
That was important, too, because their dying with that was kind of what they were expecting to open with. So great aggressive call making from Southwest Oklahoma. They are they are just in control, continuing again. So still have most of those ultimates up. They have Kitsune Rush plus Annihilation. Either one of those on its own should be enough to hold it up, but they will probably need to commit both of those. There's Crimson has begun to kind of build their ultimates up. Sound Barrier 3 on their side. So just playing and layering these out correctly or throwing them together will be important.
I like this early Kitsune Rush because it's recognizing that the Death Blossom is
purple.
here. Big, absolutely massive bubble, and as well the Dragon Strike coming through for Crimson is absolutely huge. Orbital very, very low, but getting pocketed here by Cairo now, causing a lot of problems. 95% on the board. We've got Nona jumping into the backline, seeing if they could just keep a little presence on the point. In the meanwhile, Zeret able to get a pick. WCU going down very low. Sundara actually does get healed back up to where they need to be. Somebody's gonna have to touch point though, and that's gonna be a hard thing to do considering Orbital is in the Menos form right now, able to get a couple of picks. Crimson, best they can hope to do, I think, here is touch.
Ooh, big pulse bomb, yeah. It's those kind of last-minute heroics just unfortunately weren't enough, and Southwest Oklahoma just take that in a pretty commanding fashion, just showing that they commanded the space there. Not only just the space of the point, but also just the space in around them, too. Max coming in, and this is probably that flank we were looking at, and we kind of caught there in a minute. Yeah, just after it. He did clean up all 5, I believe. It didn't say anything about it, but I do believe Max was pretty much the one-man cleanup crew here. And that kind of speaks, I think, to Southwest Oklahoma's just kind of team play in a lot of ways, right? Just they know they have this team that stays together. They know this is a very brawly, kind of quick-moving comp. But if you aren't paying attention, someone like the Reaper can get in, make some space, and catch you out if you're too busy watching the bigger threat of the tank. So Southwest Oklahoma will take Lijiang, and like I said, in a pretty commanding fashion. I do think going into different maps, though, we may not see the Ramatra as much, given just the verticality of some of these future maps to come.
Yeah, and that verticality as well. Honestly, it would play to either of these teams, right? They both like the dive, right? So even if we do go somewhere that's a little more vertical, kind of plays into that, right? You might be thinking initially that Western Colorado University, maybe that's going to be a boon for them. But honestly, I think Southwest Oklahoma is going to be able to respond in kind, especially considering the kind of flexibility we've already seen, especially with Virus.
Yeah, considering how well Virus really was very flexible there, and in a lot of ways, some key elements of that between the Symmetra, some of those flexes that we saw out of them, it was just very important. And again, the flexibility of that team as well. We saw come across multiple flex supports as well. So that flexibility of that Southwest Oklahoma team was very good. Now, my question to that is, we were expecting Western Colorado to come in and be a little bit more prepared on this dive. They never really got the chance to dive. That's kind of my thought about this. They never really got the chance to engage. Most of the engagements were taken by Southwest Oklahoma. They were really pressing the issue, and that was a lot of the reason they found their success. Early Kitsune rushes, early ultimates that really found the value and just kind of caught Western Colorado off guard, really did set the pace of the game. So now that Western Colorado has pick of map, I do expect them to see something that maybe they can get a little more control of, something that changes the pace of it. And I mean, I was going to say we are probably going to Kings Row, and it looks like I will be wrong here.
Yeah. Blizzard World actually might be the location that we're going to see next. If what I'm seeing from Prod, that is going to be correct. So heading into Blizzard World, it isn't necessarily the first map that comes to mind when I think about high ground, which again I think is what Western Colorado wants to play into, right? Because I think they also want to get Southwest Oklahoma off of this brawl-based composition, right? Or this ram dive or whatever you want to call it, right?
I agree.
Because, I agree with what you said, right? It didn't really seem like Western Colorado had too many opportunities to dive, right?
No, they really didn't.
And part of it was I think they were just playing that Winston-based composition more as a brawl, right?
Yeah, agree.
So, sure, this might be an opportunity to see it, but it doesn't scream dive to me either.
There are a couple points, especially on this, like point A, not so much the capture point segment. Not incredibly. There is that main high ground on the right, but you can kind of just play around that. Point B, that streets phase, will definitely command the high ground. So that's where I really see these kind of brawl teams, these kind of dive teams really come into play. The question I think that now I'm coming into this is, who really scrimmed this was my question mark, because I don't think a lot of teams really might have wanted to play this. I do think that also this is a big open map for something like ball, and considering we know that Southwest Oklahoma does like to play ball comps as their dive of choice, this does work in their favor. It's very easy to just run ball past the kind of setup point and just create some chaos in the background. WCU looking like they're going to start with what is probably their default comp, and I don't think that's a bad choice. It didn't look bad. They just kind of never really got it. And now that Southwest Oklahoma has kind of exited, they're opting into a more stable Sigma comp. I do think all these pieces are very good. I do think the concern I have is that Max now has to play a little bit more passive to kind of protect Orbital, because while Orbital has a couple eats in that Sigma and a little bit more to defend himself, I don't think he can take these kind of aggressive plays that he really did on those initial plays. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on Max and where he ends up on these adventures too.
I think part of that as well is the fact that that's going to allow Nona to get more value as the Winston, right? Because without Max putting a lot of pressure into the Scientist, they're going to be able to dive that backline a whole lot more, right? So I think a lot of it's going to come on to Cairo to make sure that they hit their sleeps. And like you said, Max just playing a little more passive, just playing back, making sure that their Ana is protected.
Yeah, I mean, they'll just give up the high ground here, which is the right choice. They had the sensation that it was coming. Now they're just kind of pushing the issue, though. They just kind of gave up the space for free, and now there's still no real engagement. Crimson just trying to find when is the right time, waiting the resources out, and that time is now.
Right, and a big boop coming out as well to keep Nona off of that high ground. Max going down low, but an excellently placed nade. Gonna take Loose Goose out of the equation. So WCU Crimson really having to fight from behind at this point. Gonna get a counter pick, actually a couple of them coming in, but it's gonna be 3 players on point still for Southwest Oklahoma. And with the rest coming in, point will remain theirs.
It will for now. Megasaka never, again, really contested, but that was just kind of the positioning they had, so as they get chased out, I'm still looking. Megasaka did manage to win in regards to the Nano race, and that was the Junkrat we just saw there. Max just realizing, look, we're just going to get dove. We do need to play more defensively. This is a great answer to the Winston and this dive comp. I do like it. It's very prestige, and pair that in with going their way. Southwest Oklahoma does look very primed to hold.
Here comes the nano boost now onto the high ground this time. The boop does not come in, so WCU Crimson makes quick work of 2 of the biggest threats, honestly. Max going down as well as Cairo is huge. Of course, the res does come out onto the Ana, so a lot of those heals are back, and Virus striking back. This might not be over just yet. Southwest Oklahoma making a case for it, but a big anti-nade going into Orbital and no way to clear it without a SWOSU in play. Gonna make it difficult. Now the Primal as well. That's gonna pretty much negate the effectiveness of Orbital. They do, I say that, find an incredible accretion though after getting batted around by Winston. 2 points though, 2 ticks in favor of WCU Crimson. They at least at this point, if nothing else, have a win condition on the board.
There is something to be had for that, and yeah, again, once the reinforcements came in and the resources ran out for Crimson, there was just not enough to really clean it out. In the neutral, Southwest Oklahoma has just kind of been winning, unfortunately, so swaps in, they're back over on the Hanzo. They do have this sound barrier. It'll probably be used to protect Ultra over on the Reaper, but there are just so many ultimates opposing them that it's going to have to be very sneaky to get value here, Juggle.
It will, and that's not going to be sneaky enough. Yeah, so a big pick already in favor of Southwest University. At this point, Crimson just needs to back out and stymie the bleeding. Max is going to go ahead and commit the Rift Tire as well. Finds Megasaka. Oh, that's crippling Crimson at the knees for sure.
Yeah, so last fight is up, and this is a bit of a toss-up here. WC Crimson now has the ult economy in their favor. Because of that, they do have Sound Barrier, and they do have both support ultimates up. There is the Bob plus a Flux opposing them, but they should be able to find value versus that as long as they just play and counter off whatever Southwest Oklahoma throws at them.
Oh wow! Another early pick. I mean, this is
wow,
Southwest Oklahoma's competition conversation. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a C word. Composition. It's their composition doing exactly what it needs to do, right? Poking from distance, getting picks before Crimson can even engage.
And that's been kind of the concern, is they gave up the space, and now they were playing very passively. Now they're really feeling it. Now they're still whole, but somebody has to make it, Juggle, and they might actually not get there in time.
Wow, that is an anti-nade on 4 members of the team. Nona is able to get a pick, but Megasaka's down before they can commit the nano boost as well. So this is all going to be up to a dry fight, but no one touches.
Yeah, that was my fear. Nona looked like they were trying to dive the comp and then realized there was no one to touch in time, and that was my fear. So just a little bit of a miscall, maybe a little bit lost to the madness. And I mean, I can't blame them. it's very flustering to kind of just get pushed back like that. That was a comp that looked very diveable, that looked very punishable, and looked very much like you could have felt like you could win it, and it just didn't quite come the way of the WCU Crimson. So they just kind of, it looks like they just fumbled a little bit, and now they at least have a chance to hold out a win. They just need to keep the 2 ticks off the board, and with that in mind, I don't know that they can continue to play this kind of brawl dive comp. I'm not sure it's shown the success that they want. This is obviously their most practiced comp. This is their most comfort picks, but they've just kind of shown that they're getting outclassed in various ways. And even just getting a look at Southwest Oklahoma, we're seeing a very different comp here. This flexibility coming out in their favor, and I don't think Crimson will kind of see it coming. I think they're gonna just get shocked by this Reinhardt charging them, and suddenly just find themselves on the wrong end of a quick loss if they don't recover quickly and focus out their targets. They need to get their mental together, kind of take a breath, and just get themselves in a position to say, look, we can't drop this. We are fresh off of a win. Let's keep this going. Let's get ourselves on this pick and get ourselves a win.
Big part of that, I think, is also making sure that Crimson doesn't telegraph their dives quite so much. I think a lot of them got shut down before they started, simply because Southwest Oklahoma knew where they were coming from, right? That's going to be doubly the case right now on defense, right? It's going to be a lot harder to be sneaky, which in a lot of ways is kind of what a dive composition relies on. And so already Southwest Oklahoma, they're taking possession of the point. Massive anti-nade, though, coming in from Megasaka. Look at this position. He gets sleep dart as well. Max trying to dive the Ana, but Megasaka is just too powerful.
No, that was just, unfortunately, again, there was just, I mean, just look at all the anti-dive that is out there for Southwest Oklahoma, and just kind of caught the run end of it all. They were trying to play the point a little bit quickly, and it looks like they will take it here and close it out. So Southwest Oklahoma making quick work in one fight of this Blizzard world. And I mean, Juggle, it's really hard because I just don't think Western Colorado is expecting that. I think they were just caught off guard and were just quite blindsided by the comp put in front of them.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's the key word here, right? I think this is a competitive at this point. Yeah. You know, there's talented players on both squads, absolutely. I mean, we've seen some fantastic stuff, honestly, coming out of Megasaka for sure. God. But it just hasn't been enough, right? And they need to be a little bit more flexible. Because that's, you know, that's one of the hallmarks, I think, of Overwatch, right? Is this flexibility. Being able to swap, that is a critical part of the game. And when you're missing a critical part of the game like that, it's going to come back and bite you at some point.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially if you are that predictable. If you're going to telegraph your comp and just know that we are showing what we are most comfortable with. This is our best comp. These are our best heroes, or what we think are our best heroes, because they may not be. But if you're showing constantly what you think are your best heroes, and your opposing team just goes, oh well, we can just probably counter most of this and feel comfortable doing so. These kinds of mismatches will just happen, and that's not to say anything to the players. That's just unfortunately great decision making from one team over the other, and it's hard to really say much other than that for those kinds of matchups.
Well, we're going to have a lot more to say soon, but first we're going to send it to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We will be back with map number 3 between Southwest Oklahoma State University Blue and Western Colorado University Crimson. Don't go anywhere. We are back. If you are just joining us, my name Warren Jungle God Hammond. So evident, to my right, your left, we are 2 maps in this matchup between Southwest Oklahoma University, State University, and Western Colorado University. And right now, Western Colorado, they've just been stymied every step of the way. I mean, Southwestern Oklahoma, honestly, is putting up a phenomenal showing. We were talking about it before, right? Yeah. And one of the things Western Colorado is looking to do is capitalize on mistakes. Well, that's a problem when your opponent isn't really making any.
Yeah, and not even just not making many mistakes, because there are mistakes being made. No one's perfect. Sure. But the mistakes that are being made are covered by other things that just work in their advantage. The comps that they're picking really help to kind of cover any mistakes. If anybody gets out of position, there's plenty of people to cover it. These kinds of choices of that, playing the pace that they are. I mean, just enabling Virus, allowing Virus to kind of just sit and have free fire over most of Blizzard World was so important. So really just not the pace of play also in addition to that really all works in their favor. Western Colorado just needs to kind of find something that is going to give them a little bit more of an advantage here. And they're looking for Circuit Royale to do that. And I'm very interested to see that, because what we've seen and kind of what we know historically about Circuit Royale, this is not a place you play Winston. This is not a place you really bring in those kinds of dive comps. So I'm very interested to see what the thought is here. And I do think that this has to be a drastic change in a lot of ways. This is match point. They are the winning team. They are up 1-0 in the season, but they can't really afford, they don't want to go down to 1-1. So this has to be kind of like a Hail Mary. Let's make a full swap. We already know how to play Circuit Royale. We understand the concepts. Let's just put it on an even ground and try to make something big and drastic out of the side of Western Colorado, because I think it has to be now.
It does, right? There's no time left to kind of make changes, make adjustments, and like you said, this map, it's one of the ones where you just almost exclusively run Sigma, right?
Yeah.
But if you're on attack, you can go with a Winston dive first. Jump over the buildings, maybe surprise the team a little bit, but that's only gonna work once, right? Then maybe if you're on defense, you've got this great where we're looking right now, right? This enormous high ground that you can kind of stage from. But again, it's very limited situations. It's very specific moments in time, and you can't just play to that. You need to play to the whole map.
Yeah, and the other thing to that is, as a dive team, you really need to be setting the pace and taking control of the space. And we haven't seen that out of Western Colorado University. We really have just kind of seen them playing for what they feel is the right moment. They lost so much time on Blizzard World, unfortunately, just kind of waiting for the right moment to die, waiting for cooldowns to come back, and unfortunately, it just kind of punished them. Southwest Oklahoma, we saw this Sigma before. We've seen Orbital do very well on this. Virus over now on the Widowmaker. The double hit scan is big. This is like a bog standard kind of a comp. You might have opted for Sojourn, but I do think the Soldier is a better pick here. So I have to assume Western Colorado knows this is coming, and they are going to try to match it, and I think that this is the correct choice here. I do think Megasaka over on the Brig is an interesting change of pace. Brig did get a little bit of a buff with all these changes coming in, and I do think really kind of enabling Megasaka here might actually be a little bit of a difference versus this kind of more fragile backline of Southwest Oklahoma.
Especially if Crimson is able to close the distance, right? But not going to be able to do it that way, unfortunately, for Megasaka, sent back to spawn almost immediately. Crimson, they just need to bide their time.
Yeah, you really can't force this 4v5. You can get a little bit of push here, but you're really just waiting on your hit scan now to come on top here. So it's going to be Zaire and Ultra to really come up and find an advantage here. Just find an angle, and they are searching. You can see it. They are going to be looking. It's going to come up to them to really set the pace.
Zaire does get spotted out by Max Witherman. Fires goes for the jump shot once again. Doesn't land this time, but well aware of exactly where Crimson is holding and what they're trying to do here. We do have a pause come in, so we're gonna try and take care of this as quickly as we can, as it looks like
disconnect.
Megasaka has DC'd, but before they DC'd, they did go over to Zenyatta, which I like that difference, right? Because if you don't do that, then Nona in that head-to-head matchup against Orbital is just going to be in a bad spot consistently because of that Discord.
Yeah, and I do think it's just kind of the right thing to do to mirror here. You did see the Sojourn on one side also, so that now being the main difference does give you a little bit of things to consider. So Soldiers ult a little more just kind of press and go and kind of get value for free. Sojourn, you really do have to put in a little bit of work, so it is going to come down to the Sojourn player to make sure that they get the value now that these maps have kind of evened themselves out. But the other thing we got to shout out, Virus again, opening pick. Finding value immediately and just not really contested has been an important factor across all three of these games so far.
It certainly has, and I mean that's again kind of where you start to wonder, like maybe we go dive, right? To see if we can just get into the back line and shut down Virus on the Widowmaker. But
Sure.
one thing we do know as well about Virus is that they are very, very flexible. So get them off Widowmaker. Who knows? They're gonna find somebody else great to play next.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem to this is that, again, Western Colorado has just lost so much time here where they're already down to a little under 3 minutes. That was already a minute or two off the bank, so they need to play a little bit more aggressively here and take some positioning so they can find the openings for their hit scans and their ranges to hit, and that's not an opening they want.
No, it's not, but they have taken more aggressive positioning. Zera going down, her being in spawn, that's definitely not a good thing. It's going to allow Virus to get a lot more done here, but Discord Orb will push them back. Megasaka going down, however, I don't think that's something that you can really recover from, and we see WC Crimson recognizing that and kiting away.
Yeah, they know they can't push there. They know there's not much they can do. So it'll, again, hold here. There's still a couple fights left. And now the ultimates are coming online. Southwest Oklahoma does have Trance up first, and that is way bigger. There isn't really much to continue, and that's a great opening pick. That's just more time off the clock. Southwest Oklahoma just primed to continue to hold here.
They are, and they're taking out Cairo.
That's huge.
Her getting that headshot is huge. That's definitely going to relieve a lot of the pressure that's been put on Nona, and we can see already they're healed back to full, and now this cart is going to get a little bit of movement around the corner. I'm expecting Loose Goose to use this window pretty proactively pretty soon here. Virus already, though, on the high ground. They're going to be tough to dislodge, and oh my gosh, as soon as that window goes down, they're gone.
Yeah, that was just prime time for that. So, I mean, fight's as good as over. There's not really much you can win with that. Now, Southwest Oklahoma, again, 3 ultimates on their board as they clean this up. 4, I'm sorry. It's tough. They just have the economy in the favor. They've been putting out more raw damage, and the numbers just continue to benefit them. Zera has been trying. Zera has looked great on that Widowmaker. She has been able to hit shots. She has been able to do some of the work, but it's just kind of become a problem of not capitalizing it. And again, Virus just finds their opposite before, like on the way out. This is last fight territory. All the ultimates are stacked for Southwest Oklahoma. There is not much that WCU can do here. They need something big out of one of these players.
They're recognizing that the Widow Duel not going her way at the moment, swapping over to the Tracer. Virus once again, though, able to find Ultra right before they get the overclock on the line. Big Gravitic Flux coming in as well for Southwest Oklahoma. 30 seconds left to go. This final fight's going to be scuffed, if anything, for Western Crimson.
It was an okay disengage. They still don't have everybody, but they need to get somebody there. Ultimates are coming online for them, but Southwest Oklahoma didn't spend anything to win that. They spent Flux. They still have everything else on board. WCU Crimson, now they have some answers. They just need to find any tool to break open this defense.
And this card is in a terrible position because, exactly, Sundara, she pops the window, right? You have to stay on the card, but there's nowhere you can hide and not be in view of this window. Max using that window as well with attack visor, just so much guaranteed damage. Gonna be a little bit of backup here because a lot of damage did come in, but everybody looking really low. Orbital actually going down here where WCU Crimson has an opportunity to turn this around. Virus seeing if they can turn things in their favor. Grapple shot dinks Megasaka, but they're able to get healed back up. However, that immortality field is gone. Still, they're trying to wait for the respawn to come in so that Orbital can put some pressure on point. Cairo actually diving in, playing the front line. Zenyatta. Almost not enough. We almost got them off of point. They will give up first.
I do like Zare over to this Tracer. Great change, great pop-off in the last second. I think the difference here is that Zare now needs to commit the time and energy to just bothering this Widow. Nona also on the Doomfist, more for speed here. Don't know if they'll stay on it long-term, maybe just for the time being, but I do like Zare over on this Tracer. She has looked very good whenever she's been on it, and I think she just now needs to get back, and now that that kind of signal has been made, Virus will move to something a little more bursty. Some changes will come in, and I mean, they're giving up a lot of space here, so there's probably one fight before this closes out. The tools are in Crimson's favor. They have window, they have pulse bomb. They're further along in trance. This can work if they play proactively.
This is interesting as well. We're seeing Sandara. She has opted to go over to the Brigitte as well. So a very greedy backline, going to be punished almost immediately. The window coming out from Loose Goose allows Nona a little more damage in. WCU Crimson cruising at the moment. And like you said, because they had to give up so much ground, probably not going to get a second shot at this.
Oh, no. The question is, will this stop, though, Juggle?
A lot of damage coming in from Virus. Still not quite enough. Point is going to be captured. So WC Crimson, they've got a second life here in a big way.
Okay, this is big. This is a change they needed to weigh. I think a lot of these changes, they won without committing any ultimates, so it worked out in their favor, just winning it in the neutral. I think this is the changes they needed to come in, and Southwest Oklahoma wasn't ready for it. They are ready now, though. They have 3 ultimates up on board, including Trance, to add whatever needs to be ended here. So Crimson might be able to push a little bit further, but they will probably have the foot put down against them here.
The 3 ultimates online now as well for Crimson. No, getting very close to the Gravitic Flux as well. Pulse Bomb is going to be a stick. Zare, though, takes herself out of the equation as well. Gyro Transcendence has been forced out, so SWU tried to push back pretty hard, and with Megasaka going down, that's going to signal the retreat from Crimson.
Yeah, you're down your trance. You kind of wanted that going into this, considering there is Visor on the other side if you're paying attention. It'll probably be a quick stall here, and they need to continue to get this. They need to block this Visor with trance. They do have the ultimates for Crimson now, so they can continue to push again, but they need to make sure they time these right.
The shield getting very low as well. No, gonna start things off with a Gravitic Flux. Ultra in the high ground, able to get a pick. The stick coming in onto Ultra. Are they gonna be able to survive long enough to get the counter pick onto Virus? Tried to duck and dodge as much as they can, but Melee will finish him off. Minute 20 left to go, and Crimson, dare I say, seems to have figured something out here. They seem to have adapted, and I, for one, love to see it.
Yeah, I'm so glad they have. Sandera will find one on the way out. There is the rally. They are not done yet here, Juggle.
No, they are not, especially considering Zare is down at Ultra, trying to get something done with the overclock. But honestly, just forced to back off at this point and respect the rally.
Yeah, that was kind of... It was a good use of it to just draw that space, and the changes will come through to try to put a last foot down here. Very bursty comp now in the window to kick it off here. This is their last stand, Juggle.
It absolutely is. Crucial, though, is the fact that Orbital does have the Gravitic Flux. They're likely going to want to try and hold on to this as long as they can. Last chance, last case, worst case scenario, they use it to get a Sig 9 here. Virus does have the Deadeye as well, so they could use this proactively, pull everyone up in the air, and just make it easy to get those skulls.
Yeah, I do like this rotation, though. This is Crimson using the map awareness very, very well. They recognized no one was playing from these higher angles, and now they just were free to capitalize on it. This should work, considering they have a little bit more time to build ultimates. They can capitalize on this now that they have a different angle to poke from.
That was a nice anti-nade. That's actually going to slow down Crimson getting a lot of positioning that they wanted here. And that's going to be very important because they're going to have to win this completely dry at this point. We do get the contest onto point at the last moment. Deadeye is online now for Virus. Overtime clicking down, though. We get a touch at the last moment, but a huge Deadeye. That's going to seal the deal. Southwest Oklahoma will stop the card at the 11th hour.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slog there at the end, but they managed to kind of find the ultimates, find the pace they were used to setting. And again, I just don't think they were expecting it. I think they thought they had the read. Maybe they were expecting that they were still going to try to force this kind of Winston Reaper die brawl, and they were just kind of ready for it. They were met on their own level. So with a win condition for Crimson to stay alive here, this is a good place to go. They just have to get most of the clear. And I do think they found the pieces on the side of Western Colorado University. Zare has looked great on that Tracer. It is hard not to express. Like, versus all of those other heroes, she has looked just fantastical. Just building those pulse bombs quickly and effectively, getting in the back line and harassing, I like that. I think that's something you stick with. Even the rest of these pieces as they change, I think have just looked very good. Megasaka over in the Brig, have some question marks here, but I do think it has gotten the value you might have wanted out of it. You do have a little bit more free just heal out of it. I kind of almost maybe wish you played double flex support again. Bring back the Zen, especially with Soldier out there. You do have a lot of value to be had, but I do think that this is a comp that gels for them. Now, the concern I have with this is they have no reason to change. This is a semi-predictable comp that you've seen before out of them. Does Southwest Oklahoma predict this and then play into that? And I think we're getting that. We're seeing the Genji Tracer. We're seeing more flanker-heavy play, and I expect to see Zen Bap in the backline too. So, okay. Well, Karo's going to go to the Ana. They're going to make that last-second change. I do think that this is a bit more of still a flank-heavy comp. Getting the Genji in the back to get more damage and to harass a little bit better is a new thing that's fresh here. So I do think that this has some potential to work and keep this push live.
Ultracock going down pretty low right off the bat. Gonna get healed back up though. A little bit of Volt Charge over to their healers. Nona with a big pick to start things off. Max maybe taking a little too big of a flank there. But with the pick on the Virus now, it's flopping back and forth here. So neither team necessarily getting a big advantage, at least until now.
Yeah, that was a great hold and great positioning. Just meeting them and not realizing they didn't have to give up space was a boon for WCU Crimson. So speaking of boons, they will be halfway to that Dragon Strike, and that's already pretty huge. They could probably get it as soon as this fight, and that is enough to hold it as long as they catch someone out. The Kiriko will come in to try to buy a little bit more freedom and a little more stability in this comp, and I don't hate it. It's a little more free damage. It's a little more healing, and cleanse is always good. I would just keep an eye on Zaire now because now there's a matchup in the Hanzos, and we saw how that goes. Yeah.
Zaire, unfortunately, that matchup going to go Virus's way almost immediately. So Southwest University going to get a lot of space here, but I like how quickly Crimson has kited away.
Yeah, that was a good disengage, and again now Ultra going to give that up and move over a little bit more. Zaire does have a chance in this duel, but we've seen these Zaire Virus duels constantly go the way to Virus, so I'm watching that going forward.
Zaire might not even want to necessarily focus, I think, on Virus at this point, and maybe just play out of their sight lines, just trying to put in a lot of damage to these shields that Orbital has. Gonna get the last moment contest here from Crimson. Loose Goose already has to use that Immortality Field, though, so that doesn't signal anything good for Crimson. And in fact, Southwest Oklahoma will get the first point capped.
Yeah, all it cost him was a nano, and that's pretty fine. He used it to build up everything else. You have pretty good combinations across most of the board here. So, I mean, Flux Dragon's always good. A late pick is even better. You still have the Kitsune Rush too, plus Tac Visor. Just picking a combo and committing to it will be enough to keep Southwest Oklahoma Blue on the victory here. A rally from the Beyond? Okay, that's interesting. This is very early.
Yeah, it strikes me as early as well. Virus striking with Dragon as well to see if they can split the team up a little bit. There will be the Gravitic Flux coming through now from Nona. In fact, that one's going to do a little more damage, especially with the Dragon Strike going through. So beautiful play there from Crimson.
Well, we did want Crimson to take control of the game, right? We wanted them to set the pace, and that early rally going into fight with armor is one way to do it. So, it was a little surprising maybe because we didn't see it exactly where it was placed, but it was the right call. The problem is now they don't have a lot on their side. There's a window versus a Kitsune Rush with Visor, so this is not looking good for Crimson to hold here, but I do think that with a few aggressive plays and control of the tempo, they can hold this.
They're going to need to look for picks early as well, I think. So I think a lot of the impetus is on Zaire this time. Window does come out. Here's the Kitsune Rush. Max waiting for a moment to see when they want to use the Stack Visor. It's going to go and come out now. They found a nice flank into the backline. Big anti-nade as well from Cairo. Going to help get the job done. So Southwest Oklahoma will be able to capture this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably expected just given the ult combinations on board, but again, with WCU Crimson just setting the control of the pace, they did look good. They looked like they could have probably set that off, but unfortunately just was not to be. So the finish line draws closer now, and considering that neither team has a lot, Virus does have Dragon Strike, but you can't necessarily win the fight on that alone. This positioning, though, is something you can win on. So this very high ground, just well stacked up together from Southwest Oklahoma, is a very, very good place to start this off as the card will roll around. So this positioning will help get them the rest of their ultimates in play and give them a good lead going into this turn.
And it's going to bleed a lot of resources out of Crimson as well, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to try and find a way to get around that corner. The only way they're going to do it is if they utilize some of their abilities, and then they're going into that fight at a disadvantage as well. Sonic Arrow from Zare, though, nice, lining things up. Beautiful shot on the Virus as well. So that is absolutely one way to start things off here in your favor. The anti-nade will come in. Going to cause pause for a second, but what we need to see, I think, there from Crimson was more capitalization on those
that's
big
three.
picks. That's a nasty nade.
That's huge. Kiro just decides to put it. Kiro just decides that, no, I'm going to win this fight for them, and that's incredibly fine. Look, we can talk about ultimates all we want, but these still abilities, these anti-nades, still just win fights on their own, Juggle. They're still so big, and now with 3 ultimates in their bag, Southwest Oklahoma is just primed to close this out.
They absolutely are, especially considering Orbital has this Gravitic Flux as well. They can stop people from getting to point if they need to. Here comes the Gravitic Flux, this time from Nona. It's going to be a nano committed to Orbital just to keep them alive. Max Witherman does a fall, but Virus strikes back, taking Zare out of the equation. Ultra getting ready to get that attack visor online, though, could spell trouble, especially considering Orbital doesn't have necessarily a whole lot of shield left.
No, and those early picks worked in their favor, though. There is the time bank still for Southwest Oklahoma. Ooh, Virus finds one, though. It's still going, Juggle. They're still not ready to call it.
No, they are not. Megasaka has to use the Transcendence to try and keep their team alive.
Oh, good shot.
Big shot from Orbital. That's going to change things dramatically. And now the attack visor coming in as well from Max, seeing if they can turn things around. But honestly, that's just a win for Crimson because they get rid of another win condition.
It was a little bit ambitious to think they could have won with what they had, maybe man down with that Kitsune rush. They might have won that back just given the kind of state of play now, because Crimson now has ultimates on board. They'll have 3, and there's nothing really on the other side. The Junkrat is back, and Virus is well on their way to a Dragon Strike, but this is just going to cost a lot of time to build those ultimates to really set up an effective fight, and WCU Crimson has the tools to hold.
Virus going down again means that Southwest Oklahoma is in a tough spot. Cairo going down as well. This is just another very quick regroup here for Southwest Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, Southwest Oklahoma just doesn't know where to look. There's a great crossfire coming in from the top ground, and there's just great holds across and creating crossfires from the side of WCU Crimson, so they are continuing to hold, and they're rewarded for it. 4 ultimates on board, again, just the riches of ultimates to fight through, and there's not much to on the other side. Virus gave up most of that charge to go to Tracer, feeling there's going to be a touch, and it's last fight, so a big mountain for Southwest Oklahoma to climb here. It's looking difficult for them.
It certainly is. This is great to see coming out from Crimson. Tac Visor plus the Amp Matrix. Feels like it was a little bit early, though. Everybody just a kite away from it. So 2 of the big tools that Crimson had are now gone.
Yeah. That might have been a little too soon there. That's a little unfortunate. Lusku's falling also is not what they need.
Yeah, it's really not. This flank from Virus getting a lot of work done for sure. It's pulling the attention of Ultra off of the point. In the meantime, Nona finding a big Gravitic Flux, but now SWU smells blood in the water. They've got 3 picks. Somebody from Crimson going to have to touch almost immediately. I don't think anybody is left, despite a very valiant effort from Crimson. Ooh. Southwest Oklahoma State University Blue will get the win here tonight.
Yeah. It was looking good, and it was a great, well-fought match for Southwest Oklahoma. Crimson had the tools to do it. It just kind of seems, again, in that 11th hour, we've kind of seen just like a miscommunication, a little bit of a miscall, or someone just kind of making a decision too early that didn't quite line up, and those kinds of small mistakes, unfortunately, just can snowball into something bigger. And that's kind of a story of these last 2 maps, right? Last-minute decisions kind of get called, communication drops a little bit, an ultimate gets used too early, someone isn't in the position they need to be in to touch point, and unfortunately just costs Crimson, who was up 1-0, now it sets them to 1-1.
It does, but on the flip side, it does bring Southwestern Oklahoma State University up to 1-1, so they have to be feeling pretty good, especially after last week where they lost 0-3. So this is fantastic. Definitely going to be a big confidence booster, and I loved everything that I saw from them tonight. Crimson as well. You know, when they swapped, things looked good, right? We saw big improvements. And so, honestly, I think this is a team that maybe is more comfortable on a lot of compositions that they don't think they're necessarily that comfortable in, because that was a very close affair on that last map.
Yeah, I do think there's maybe even just a slight confidence issue. It's
Perhaps.
very It's very easy to just sit and say these are our best heroes. Let's play our best heroes that we can play, and let's just run it down. But trust yourself. Like when sometimes these comps, the Sigma comps that you're supposed to play on those. Sometimes when you run those back and you see success, you got to pay attention and think, maybe in the future we need to look towards more maps that do this. Maybe we need to consider these on other maps. And for Western Colorado University, I do think that there is a lot of growing to be had from this map, but also a lot of good successes to bring from it.
There absolutely are. Well, that is going to do it here for us, at least on the B stream tonight here at NECC. Thank you all so much for joining us in chat. Thank you, Soav, for casting alongside me, and as well, all of our production in with us as well. Big shout out to Hippie and Bryce Burr. Thank you all so much. Before we close this out, any final words from you, Soav?
Just go on over and check the last of A stream. There's still one more game going, and there's plenty of good NECC action still left. So can't wait to see what the rest of these teams bring it this season, Juggle.
All right, well, thank you all so much for tuning in. GG's, and see you next time.